Time right now is 8:40. Hey, we know to limit the amount of trans fats and sugar we eat, right? But how about genetically modified foods, or GMOs? Well, Dr. Steve here with what you need to know this morning.
The debate is still raging when it comes to genetically modified foods, but how much do GMOs actually impact your health? Well, Fitness Magazine Senior Editor Lisa Haney is here to break down the arguments from both sides. Good to see you.
Hi, thanks for having me.
All right, so let's talk about GMOs in general, because for those people who don't know what GMOs are, what are they?
So there's a lot of hype out there, but GMOs are genetically modified organisms, and that means they've been made from seeds that have been genetically altered. And that's usually done to do things like help the plant resist some insects, pesticides, and also maybe so that they don't need so much water or heat when growing. So it's a lot of agricultural reasons. Yeah,
the idea is to basically maximize the yield, right, and have things grow under difficult conditions and stuff like that. A lot of people are worried that this is dangerous. It's tampering with, our health and our food supply. Where do we stand with legislation on this issue?
Right. So a few states, 3 states so far, have passed laws requiring labeling. So a lot of people are, they want labeling. They want to know what's in their food. New York has not yet passed anything, so it's on the ballot in Oregon coming up.
Right now, according to a recent New York Times survey, something like 93% of people say they want their food labeled, right? They want to know if there are GMOs in their food, so that's important. Let's talk about some of the pros of GMOs. Why would we want that?
Right. So, actually, we've been eating them for 20 years already.
People don't realize we've been having them for a long time.
Whether you know it or not, they're in 75% of packaged and processed foods. So, and that's because they're mostly in things like corn and soy and sugar beets are some of the main crops that are genetically modified, and those are a lot of the additives in these foods. So, you're already eating them. There haven't been there haven't been any health concerns. All the research and the medical organizations say that. So they say they're considered safe. You don't need to be worried, and you have been eating them already.
Right, that seems to be the standard line. What are some of the cons associated with GMOs? Because there are a lot of people that just don't like them because they don't like things being tampered with.
Right, so it's that idea, there's a fear that comes with this idea of genetically altering something. So that's really, they say it's conceivable that when you're changing genes, maybe something would happen and it could cause an unknown health consequence.
Right.
But again, nothing, so far that hasn't been the case as far as the science shows.
Okay, so let's say you're one of those people who just wants to stay away from these. What are some of the takeaways, some tips you could say? Like, you know what, I don't want genetically modified foods at all. What do you have to do?
So some of the steps you can take just to be eating healthier in general will actually help. So you want to choose organic. That actually means that it will be GMO free. And then you're also preventing, so many pesticides and fertilizers when you choose organic. So that's number one. And you also want to eat a lot of fresh fruits and vegetables. So a lot of the fresh fruits and vegetables, like your carrots and celery, all that, it's not genetically modified. So there are some things like squash and alfalfa, some small amounts on the market are genetically modified, but it's mostly in these processed foods. So, eat fresh and you'll eliminate some. Also eat a lot of whole grains. There aren't GMO varieties of whole grains right now.
So basically know what you're eating. It sounds like you're saying eat the natural stuff, eat the stuff that's coming naturally from the earth that hasn't been tampered with. And if it's not labeled, sometimes you don't know, though, right? Because some of these foods could be and you don't even realize it.
Right. So you want to check the packaging. And now there are non-GMO labels. That's one of the fastest growing health claims on foods that you'll see today. And stores like Whole Foods, Trader Joe's, Chipotle, they're disclosing that now and requiring their retailers
I've noticed that a lot of them, if it says no GMOs right on the label. Lisa, thanks so much for coming in. Really appreciate it. Some great information. For more healthy tips, check out the November issue of Fitness Magazine. It's on newsstands now.
Dr. Steve, thank you. Time right now is 8:40.